Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm doing an album review. I've never done this before and I'm a little bit nervous because this is a very highly anticipated album for me and I want to do it justice in my review. So I'm going to be reviewing Ember by Breaking Benjamin, released today, April 13th. I've been excited for this ever since the release of it. Like when Dark Before Dawn came out, I was like, yo, this is great. Where's the next one? And so when they announced this and then Red Cold River came out at the beginning of this year, the hype was real and I have been so excited for this ever since. I think a lot of people were expecting this album to be the best one yet, just based on the pre-releases. A lot of people were saying, this had better be better than Phobia, or this had better be better than We Are Not Alone, or at least stand up to those two albums, because those are considered Breaking Benjamin's two best works, I think, amongst the fan base. Personally, my favorite was Phobia. The album came out, and it was everything that I was hoping it to be and more. I was very impressed by a lot of these tracks. Breaking Benjamin has the same sound as they always have, but at the same time it's different and it works. It doesn't feel repetitive, and that's what I love about this band is they don't change their sound and they still make it work. It makes Breaking Benjamin one of the greatest bands of all time, in my opinion, that they can do that. I was worried initially with all the pre-releases. Like, I think once Psycho came out, I'm like, okay, they need to stop with the pre-releases because they're gonna release like the entire album by the time the album comes out. And then Save Yourself came out and I'm like, okay, so we have Red Cold River, Feed the Wolf, Psycho, Blood, and Save Yourself. We have 5 out of the 12 tracks. That's almost half the album. So I was worried that this album wasn't going to do it for me. Honestly, put those fears aside, this album still provides, even though we have almost half of it released, pre-released. They were spaced well in the track listing so that it didn't feel like, you know, oh, I've heard this, oh, I've heard this, oh, I've heard this. They'd give 2 pre-releases and then a new song and then another pre-release and then a couple new songs. So it was really good. The spacing was perfect and it really just fit everything well. So I'm gonna go in now on each individual track and give my thoughts and opinions and kind of like my interpretation of the songs. Again, this is just what I think, what I got from it. It's not like the end-all be-all interpretation, obviously. And if you have other interpretations and thoughts on these songs, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this album and each song. If you think I'm completely wrong in interpreting one of these songs, say something. Because, again, this is just what I got, and I want to hear what other people thought of this. So let's get into it. We start off with the song called Lyra. Now, when I saw this title, I was like, what the heck is Lyra? So I did a little bit of research on it, and I found out that it is an astronomical term. It means the lyre. It's a northern constellation between Cygnus and Hercules, and it contains the bright star Vega, which is the final track of the album, is called Vega. So it all fits together nicely. It's a constellation, and then the final track is the main star. Lyra acts as an opening track. It's very soft piano, it's a very easy lead-in, and there's just a distorted guitar that kind of fades in, and then it explodes into the next track, which is Feed the Wolf. Now, my problem with this, and it's a very minor complaint, like honestly, it's stupid to complain about. I feel like this could have just been attached to Feed the Wolf. When you're listening to it, it flows well, but on any device, you're still going to get that little split second of a skip of silence. And so when I'm listening to it, I just get that little, but still, it's a beautiful, very calm and somber track. It's very nice, which then leads into the next track, which is Feed the Wolf. Okay, so Feed the Wolf. This is an homage, I guess, to the old tale of two wolves. There's two wolves, one gets fed and then one isn't fed, and they fight which one's gonna win, and obviously the one that's fed and, you know, well taken care of is the one that's gonna win. And so it's like, what are you feeding in your life? So it's an homage to that old tale, that one that you hear examples of when it's talking about making good life choices and everything. This song, the lyricism conveys that message well. It's got that struggling between, like, am I gonna be a good person or am I becoming the thing that I hate? And ultimately what you feed is the person you hate, and that's what you've become. You have become the animal that you didn't want to be, but that's what you fed, that's what you get. The instrumentals are extremely heavy, the guitars bring that crunch. It's really awesome. I really love this song. It's super hype. The last chorus is extremely vocally heavy. It's got the harmony of "Carry Me Through This World Alive," plus it's got Ben singing over that "Fight the Animal." And so it feels very, like, almost synthy sounding, almost like robotic in my opinion. It works very well, and I really love that final chorus. It's just it's so full. A lot of people might think it's a little too busy, but I thought it worked very well, and I personally enjoyed how that sounded. So this is the perfect opening for this album. This was like the best track that they could have chosen to open this album. It conveys the heaviness, the darkness, and the overall message of becoming something you hate and trying to deal with that. So I thought this was a great opener, which then takes us to the third track, Red Cold River. So Red Cold River to me was a track of trying to find something worth living for, but losing your senses of feeling and just your whole sense of yourself and who you are, and becoming so hateful and unable to find the good in yourself because you have been betrayed and deceived by the people around you and the world around you. You feel no connection at all. You just feel like there's nothing left anymore, like you're broken, you're falling apart, you're descending, and you can't even feel within yourself anymore. Probably one of the heaviest tracks on the album. My gripe with this is that it was a bit repetitive, very like predictable in how it played out, but it's still a really enjoyable one. It started out, when I heard it at first, it was amazing, but then as they released more, I was like, okay, this is kind of like knocking down. And out of all of the pre-releases, probably my least favorite one. They were all great pre-releases, and I still really enjoyed Red Cold River, but in my opinion it was written to be like metal, radio friendly, you know, repetitive. It's something that you can sing, something you can remember. It's on there and it's awesome. Then we lead into our first new full song, Tourniquet. Okay, so I'm kind of an idiot. Let's be real here. I don't know a lot of things about a lot of things, so I'm like, what the heck is a tourniquet? Just in case you don't know what a tourniquet is, it's like a term used in medicine. It's any device for arresting bleeding by forcibly compressing a blood vessel as a bandage tightened by twisting. It's something you tie around something that's bleeding, and it's supposed to stop the bleeding because you cut off the blood flow. What I got out of this song was a lot of talk about turning to self-destructive behavior as a way to cope with feeling that pain and betrayal that was conveyed by Feed the Wolf and Red Cold River. You're using the self-destructive behavior to try and make yourself feel something and stop the bleeding, but you're still hurting yourself in doing this. He says, I tie the tourniquet, suffocate me, or something like that. Basically, that's what it seems to be talking about, is trying to cope with that pain, feeling betrayed and deceived by people, so you turn to self-destructive habits and behavior to tie the tourniquet and suffocate yourself and try to stop that bleeding, but in the process, you are basically killing yourself in doing that. It's a track filled of like it's very hopeless, it's very angry. The chorus is very, very solid and very heavy. The bridge gives you this feeling of like openness and freeness, almost like you're flying, I guess. It's really strange, but it's so beautiful. Another solid track, and for a new track, amazing. It was great. Then we go into another pre-release, Psycho. So the meaning I get from Psycho is this is the final step of all of this hectic craziness, all this anger, this self-destruction. This is your final step into the madness. You're withdrawing into yourself, you're crashing, you're out of control, you're detaching from everything that you loved like a psychopath would do. And it ends up being their downfall, and it causes them to crash and become ultimately the worst version of themselves that they could possibly be. And I feel like the tone of this song does bring about that feeling. The chorus is probably one of the greatest things I've ever heard from Breaking Benjamin. It's beautiful, it's warm, it's full, but it still has that feeling of haunting to it that Breaking Benjamin brings. And ultimately, this song conveys, I have lost myself. This could be considered the title track due to the line in the chorus, I am the ember fading. It's just a great song, and it was the best pre-release in my opinion. I love the feel of it, I love the vibe of it. It just flows so well, and it's beautiful, it's amazing. I love Psycho. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. Maybe not my favorite, but definitely the best pre-release in my opinion. After Psycho, we move into the very dark and slow and somber track called The Dark of You, featuring Derek Ho of Dancing with the Stars. So as I stated, this is the very slow and like relaxing but dark sounding track of this album. It could be considered Ember's Ashes of Eden. It's very slow, it's very surreal, it's very dark and beautiful at the same time. It starts off with like thunder sounds and like a storm sound, which really sets the mood for the feel and the vibe of this track. Derek Ho of Dancing with the Stars, am I pronouncing his last name right? I really hope I am. He sings on this track. I can't pick out where his vocals are, so if anyone knows what part he sings, please let me know, because I'm not 100% sure on that. This track definitely highlights the vocals for sure, especially Ben's. I thought this was one of his most beautiful performances that I've ever heard. I'm gonna be honest, this song, I kind of had a little bit of an existential crisis when I listened to it after, I'd listened to it before, but then suddenly, like, something clicked with this song, and I just, was like, whoa, this just got crazy real. Like, I don't know what it was. Something happened. It wasn't one of my favorites at first, but as I listened to it more, it's one of my favorites on this album. What this song I think is trying to convey is a cry for help. He sings a lot about the fallen, the broken, and this just comes across as a cry for help, for salvation, for what this world has become. To me, that's what it comes across as. It's very haunting and surreal, but a very beautiful track. Honestly, one of the best ones on the album. If Ashes of Eden was your favorite on Dark Before Dawn, this is going to be your favorite on Ember. Again, though, if you stan Ashes of Eden, you might not like this one because you might feel like it's trying to be Ashes of Eden. So I guess it's just kind of up to your interpretation. After Dark of You, we get into the 7th track, which I consider to be the turning point of this entire album, titled Down. So Down, the beginning of it was very odd to me at first. It's very electronic and sounds kind of alien-esque. It's a weird sound for Breaking Benjamin to use, but that's not a bad thing. I was taken off guard, but at the same time I was like, this is actually pretty interesting. It drew me in. It made me want to listen to more. And then, of course, when the guitars hit, you're like, okay, yep, this is Breaking Benjamin. This is their sound. Yeah, so just to preface that, it's a very odd intro sound, but it definitely gives that Breaking Benjamin vibe. So like I said, this is the turning point of the album for me. He's singing about being at rock bottom. You have reached the lowest point possible, but then making that decision to take back your life and fight to get back to who you want to be. The bridge is extremely hectic. It feels very fast-paced, but also contrasts that with an openness to it at certain points. So there's a lot going on there, and I really liked the rush that it gives you. It's very interesting. One of the most interesting tracks on the album, and one of the ones that I was surprised the most by. I didn't know what to expect from a song called Down, and to be honest, I don't think they ever use down in this song at all. I don't think they ever use that word. It's really interesting, but it does have that concept of being down at the lowest point and trying to, starting to fight to get back to yourself and becoming who you are supposed to be. After we finish with Down, we get to the next track, the one that they've been teasing for a very, very long time, Torn in Two. If I'm not mistaken, Torn in Two, I think, was supposed to be on Dark Before Dawn. This was originally supposed to be on there, but they ended up cutting it, and I think instead they did Breaking the Silence. They sound very similar to each other at points, the guitars especially, but at the same time, Torn in Two is its own song. I think this is a slightly lighter but better version of Breaking the Silence. This is still pretty mainstream in terms of what Breaking Benjamin usually does. It was used in a hockey promo, I believe, very recently. I mean, yeah, it's going to have that mainstream sports feel. I think this is going to be used possibly in wrestling and, just sports in general. I can hear this song being played in an arena as some sports figure is making an entrance. However, this song doesn't sell out. It still has that familiar Breaking Benjamin feel, specifically in the chorus of the song. What I got from this song being called Torn in Two, obviously you have that inner conflict with yourself. There's that tug again between the two wolves, and you're trying to figure out whether you should still fight or fall back into old habits and old patterns, those negative feelings. But you end up making that decision to fight, not necessarily for yourself, but for the people around you that you love. It's like a hope in the midst of hopelessness. You're starting to come back, but it's not necessarily for your good, it's for the good of the people around you, so you can be not so toxic to them. Torn in Two, mainstream, but a great song. They've been teasing this one for a very long time. There was a short snippet out. They've been teasing that as the music video that already came out, possibly with the release of Ember. We then get into the next pre-release on this album, which is Blood. Okay, so Blood, we get back into that tiredness of who you are. You hate yourself. You hate what you've become, but you accept what it is. You accept what you've become. You come to terms with, this is who I am. I can't necessarily change this. Hence the line in the chorus, it's in my blood. You feel like you're unable to change who you are, and you're trying to accept that, yet you're still harboring regret for the things you're going to continue to do. You don't feel like you can change your behavior or the person you are, yet you still feel bad about it, but you've come to terms and accepted the fact that this is it, this is who I am, this is who I've become, and I gotta deal with it. In the bridge, there's a line that says, face the monster I've become. So basically what I've been saying, I think that's kind of the message of this song, is just accept who you are, come to terms with that. No matter how much you may hate it, you may not be able to change it, and you just kind of got to accept that and not beat yourself up and hate everything because of that. I mean, yeah, you can hate yourself, you can hate who you are, but ultimately, that's what you got to live with, and if you can't change it, then you can't change it. It's in your blood. Leads us into the final pre-release, the most recent pre-release, Save Yourself. So when I first heard Save Yourself, it was extremely strange to me. The guitars at the beginning were very odd and the verses felt weird. I don't know what it was. Like, it was the screaming and the guitars. I don't know. It was weird, and I had mixed feelings at first, but it grew on me after I listened to it a second time and a third time. It's very, 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 very Breaking Benjamin-esque. They use a lot of those references. They refer to Leave This World Behind, as they did in Unknown Soldier from Phobia. They talk about the devil. They make a lot of biblical references throughout their songs, so devil has been a constant theme. Devil, demons, angels. This song does make a lot of links to previous things they've put out, which I thought was interesting. I recognized a lot of them. The message I get from this song is you're telling the people around you, this is who I am. This is what I've become. Save yourself, get away before I corrupt you, because I don't want to be toxic to you. You need to get away from me because I am not good for you. The person that you knew is gone. That's the feeling that I got from it. He's dead, he's dying. This is his final breath. He wants you to get away because this is not good. I'm gone. This is what I've become. That's what I'm getting from this. These last couple of tracks were hard to grasp because it almost seems contradictory in a way. Just give me your thoughts on these guys and let me know if you think I'm doing a good job of interpreting this. It's very, very interesting. Like I said, the instrumentals are extremely different compared to everything else. It could be off-putting, it could be intriguing to some people. So I guess this is just kind of up to your discretion whether you like it or not. But after Save Yourself, we get into our last full track, personally my favorite on the album, Close Your Eyes. So Close Your Eyes has this very fast-paced, almost manic sort of intro to it that makes you feel like, whoa, slow down. It's very staccato, it's very like in your face, very fast-paced and hard-driven. This track gives me vibes of having full acceptance of who you are and having a full rebirth. We've come full circle from the beginning of the album being losing yourself. This track seems to be about finding yourself and coming to terms and full acceptance of that. Again, like I said, this seems a little bit contradictory to Save Yourself, because Save Yourself to me came across as telling everyone to get away. I'm changing. You need to save yourself and get out of this before I corrupt you. But this song gives vibes of holding people close to you, holding your loved ones close, the people who care closely, despite the darkness within you and the toxicity that you could convey to them, and wanting to learn from them how to improve yourself and be better. You know, that's what I got from it. And again, if you guys have different meaning or different thoughts, let me know. I'd be very interested to see what you thought of this. This is probably my favorite track for one reason and one reason only. The choruses are all minor until the very, very last chorus, which they shift from a minor key to a major key, and it's so freaking beautiful. That's unlike things that I've heard from Breaking Benjamin before. A very, very minor and sad feeling for like all of these choruses, but the very final one, they switch to major, and it's so subtle, but if you're listening for it, you hear it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it blew my mind, honestly, because I didn't catch it the first time, but when I listened to it again, I was like, wow, that was beautiful, and that was so subtle and so perfect. The switch from minor to major was just mind-blowing to me. I loved this track. It was so beautiful. Listen for this one. This is a great one. That then leads us into our final closing outro track, Vega. So like I mentioned at the beginning with Lyra, Vega is the main star in the constellation of Lyra. It's a star of the first magnitude. That's the definition. I looked it up. In astronomy, a star of the first magnitude in the constellation Lyra. This is a very dark and uneasy feeling outro, It's very instrumental and kind of electronic to it, but it's really interesting, and I wasn't expecting this from an outro track. Again, though, just like with Lyra, I feel could have been attached to the beginning of Feed the Wolf, I feel this could have been attached to the ending of Close Your Eyes. Or they could have just made it a completely separate track altogether. There's the guitar tone ties in between the two songs, so there's like a guitar tone, and then there's that cut, and it comes into Vega. You have that cut that interrupts the flow of it if you're listening to it on another device. Nonetheless, very, very interesting, dark, uneasy outro. I enjoyed, and I thought that it was a great close to a dark and uneasy album. I enjoyed it. This whole album was just fantastic. There are a few very minor gripes that I need to make, and I've addressed some of them earlier, but I just want to go through them. Like I said, The Dark of You may come across as Breaking Benjamin trying to emulate the beauty and somberness that everyone loved from Ashes of Eden. Ashes of Eden, I think, was a surprise to them. I don't think they were expecting it to be as big of a hit as it ended up being. And so I feel like with The Dark of You, they were almost trying to recapture what that was. And to some people, that could be very off-putting. To some people, that could be distracting. If you're a huge fan of Ashes of Eden, you might find that you don't like The Dark of You for that reason. It feels like, to me, at first, when I first heard it, I was like, they're going for Ashes of Eden with this song. They're trying to make that beautiful, very slow and somber track that everyone loved about Ashes of Eden with this. But it grew on me, like I said, and I loved it. It was great. Either you're going to love this one or you're going to hate this one, depending on what you thought of Ashes of Eden. Or perhaps if you liked Ashes of Eden, you'll like this too, because Ashes of Eden almost was hopeful. This one is more depressing. So they have two different styles, but I feel like that's what they were trying to go for, was another beautiful, slow, calm track that Ashes of Eden was. Honestly, it's just up to preference. Another one, like I said, Lyra and Vega could have been attached to the other tracks, but I think the reason that they had them as intros and outros was because they wanted it to be a 12-track album and not a 10-track album. It's cool. Nothing too major to complain about with that. And again, this is Breaking Benjamin, so there are certain lyrical themes to expect. You're going to get a lot of talk about fade, a lot of talk about fall beneath or fall between. You're going to get biblical references, for example, talking about the devil. You're going to get a lot of those lyrical similarities that all Breaking Benjamin songs have, that people notice, people point out. It's very, very familiar for Breaking Benjamin, and some people might find that distracting and annoying. I personally don't have a problem with it. I like their lyrical style. I like that they don't really change it up. It helps you kind of be able to connect with their music and them because they keep it so consistent. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I did have one observation. This is the first album since We Are Not Alone that doesn't have a track that references angels. Phobia had Evil Angel. Dear Agony had Anthem of the Angels, and Dark Before Dawn had Angels Fall. This had no track that talked about angels, at least in the title, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Fantastic album. This definitely does rival with Phobia and We Are Not Alone. In my opinion, Phobia has been my favorite Breaking Benjamin album since I got into them. Phobia has some of my favorite songs on there from Breaking Benjamin of all time, but this is, in my opinion, the best album they've put out yet. This is their heaviest album for sure. Let me know in the comments below if you think this is their best album yet, or if Phobia, We Are Not Alone, whatever your favorite album is, still reigns supreme. I personally love it. I would recommend it if you've been into Breaking Benjamin's old stuff. It's very, very similar, yet also brings new things to the table. It's their heaviest album to date. I loved it. My hype expectations were satisfied, perhaps even overflowed, I guess. I don't really know how to put that into words. 9.5 out of 10 overall for this album. Again, there are those minor gripes that kind of took away from it and distracted just a tiny, tiny bit that kept it from being closer to like a 9.7 or 9.8. But it's still my favorite album from Breaking Benjamin, and I would definitely recommend it if you are a fan of metal or hard rock or just Breaking Benjamin in general. I think this is going to be my personal album of the year. 9.5 out of 10. Great album. Breaking Benjamin, if you happen to watch this, hats off, round of applause. You guys did great with this one. So thank you guys if you stuck through this whole video. It's a lot longer than I expected it to be, and my throat is dry as heck because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I will leave links to buy it in the description below, or Spotify, stream it, whatever you want to do. Links are in the description below to check it out. I definitely recommend buying it. It is 2 thumbs up. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Let me know if I should do more music reviews. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and also subscribe to my main channel, which is Gray Movies. We do gaming, skits, all kinds of good stuff that you might enjoy, so go check that out. That is my main channel, and I'm using this as kind of a thing to do my own things because my brother is also on the Gray Movies channel. We kind of co-run that. This is for me to do stuff like this. So subscribe to both those channels. Both of the links are up on the screen somewhere. Check out some of my other videos. Share this if you thought it was a good review. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.